Have you ever wondered what the actual source code of your own mind is? I mean, really, what if I told you that over 2,000 years ago, an entire system was built to map out every single process of consciousness? It's like a team of ancient programmers decided to reverse engineer reality itself. Well, that system is the Abhidharma. And in this series, we're going to explore this ancient map of the mind source code. So let's crack it open and see what it tells us about our own experience. All right, here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to challenge the very idea of what's real. Then we'll look at the 4 fundamental building blocks of, well, everything. After that, we'll get into the specifics of mapping the mind, and you'll see just how precise this gets. We'll even isolate the specific code that leads to unhappiness and see how the most common type, greed, is running in the background of your life every single day. And finally, we'll pull it all together to really understand the mind's source code. So let's kick things off with a question that sounds super simple, but is actually incredibly deep. What is truly fundamentally real? You see, the Abhidharma challenges our everyday perception of the world right from the get-go. Okay, so the Abhidharma splits reality into 2 types. On one side, you have paññatti, or what we can call conceptual reality. Think about a table. A table doesn't really exist on its own, right? It's just a name, a convention we use for a specific pile of wood and screws. If you rearrange those parts, the table disappears, even though all the stuff is still there. But on the flip side, you have Paramartha, or ultimate reality. These are the fundamental, indivisible bits that make up everything. They exist whether we have a name for them or not. They're the real deal. This, of course, leads to a pretty fascinating question. If all the objects we see and name every day are basically just ideas, just concepts, what are the actual ultimate building blocks of our universe? And more importantly, our own experience? Well, the Abhidharma doesn't just leave you hanging. It provides a really systematic answer. It deconstructs everything we could possibly experience into 4 ultimate realities. These are the fundamental elements of its source code. The system identifies exactly 4 of these ultimate realities. First, there's Citta, which is just pure consciousness itself. Then you have Cetasika. These are the mental factors, emotions, thoughts, the textures of the mind. Third is Rupa, which is all physical matter. And finally, there's Nirvana, which is the unconditioned state beyond all of it. Now, for today, we're going to zero in on that first one, Citta, because it's basically the operating system for our entire experience. So what is Citta? It's simply the raw act of awareness. It's not what you're aware of, but the awareness itself. The act of seeing, the act of hearing, the act of thinking, all of these are different flavors of Citta. It's the base-level process that allows any experience to happen at all. It's the OS. And this is where it gets truly mind-blowing. The Abhidharma doesn't just define consciousness and leave it at that. Oh no. It provides a complete, comprehensive map, a detailed taxonomy of every possible conscious moment you could ever have. So get this, according to this ancient analysis, there aren't 1 or 2 or even 10 types of consciousness. There are 121 distinct types of citta, each one with its own unique characteristics and functions. We're talking about an incredibly high-resolution map of the mind. Now, 121 sounds like a lot, but it's not random. It's all neatly categorized into 4 main spheres, or planes of being. Most of our day-to-day consciousness, a whopping 54 types, happens in what's called the sensuous sphere. This is our normal life: seeing, hearing, wanting, thinking. The other types belong to much deeper states, like high levels of meditation or the supramundane states that are all about enlightenment. So for now, let's zoom in on a part of this map that everyone, and I mean everyone, experiences. We're talking about the code for unhappiness, or what the Abhidharma calls akusala citta, the unwholesome states of consciousness. Within that everyday sensuous sphere, there are exactly 12 types of unwholesome consciousness, and the Abhidharma traces all of them back to just 3 roots: greed, hate, or delusion. But just look at this chart. What's absolutely striking is that a full 8 of these 12 states are rooted in greed, or lobha. So while hate and delusion are definitely powerful, greed is by far the most common and varied. To really understand our daily minds, we have to start there. Now, when we hear the word greed, our minds jump to, robbing banks or something extreme. But that's not what the Abhidharma is talking about here. Its definition of greed is way more subtle. It's the code of wanting, of liking, of attachment, that's just quietly running in the background of our lives all the time. This quote from the source material is, well, it's pretty startling. It claims that for most of us, this greed-rooted consciousness isn't some rare event. It's pretty much our default state. So what does that actually look like in real life? Let's break it down. Okay, so you're eating something really delicious, and that thought pops up, this is so good, I want another bite. That simple experience of pleasurable wanting, that's a greed-rooted citta in action. Or how about this? That feeling of being totally lost in a song you love, just wanting it to keep going, not wanting it to end. That, too, it arises from this very same root. It's a type of consciousness that's based on pleasurable attachment. And of course, the classic example, the desire for stuff. Seeing something you like in a store, wanting to own it, and then feeling that little rush of pleasure when you buy it. These are all perfect examples of this mental code running. The key thing to remember is that it's not about these actions being bad, but about seeing that the underlying consciousness is one of attachment. And this brings us to the most crucial point of all. The action itself is often totally neutral. It's the intention behind it, the source code running the program, that determines its quality. You know, dressing to stay warm is one thing, but dressing to attract attention, to feel better than others, or make people envious, that's a whole other program running, even if you're wearing the exact same clothes. The Abhidharma is really a system of radical self-awareness, asking us to look at the why behind what we do. Okay, so after deconstructing our reality and zooming right in on the code for unhappiness, what are the key takeaways here? Let's recompile everything we've just learned about the mind's source code. So to recap, what we call reality is mostly just a conceptual overlay we put on everything. The true reality is made of these fundamental building blocks. For our experience, the most important one is consciousness, or Citta. And this consciousness isn't simple. It's a huge, complex system. For most of us, the unwholesome states we experience most often are those subtle ones rooted in greed and attachment, the ones that color so many of our seemingly innocent daily actions. And at the end of the day, what matters most isn't what you do, but why you're doing it. The intention is everything. Look, understanding this code isn't about judging yourself. It's about awareness. It's like a programmer finally being able to see the lines of code that have been running on autopilot their entire life. And that, of course, leads to the next big question. If we've just deconstructed the code for greed, what's the source code for its opposites? What's the code for wisdom and compassion? We'll get into that